Welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope you're as excited as I am. It's Wireless Tuesday. Wireless Tuesday is a monthly podcast that revolves around Cisco wireless LAN and related technologies. It's a way for me and my colleagues on the Cisco Global Wireless team to give back to the community that's given us so much. My name is Jason Grant, and I'm your host. Let's get it going. It's Wireless Tuesday. It is Wireless Tuesday, and I'm really excited about my next guest for this episode. We're going to be focusing on a topic that was of surprisingly high interest when I polled the regular viewers. It wasn't surprising because I don't think the topic is interesting. It's more surprising as the topic is interesting now. It kind of tells me that customers are looking for flexibility and capability and performance for smaller deployments. And even if by small, I mean hundreds or even thousands of locations that just maybe need a few or several access points and need adequate coverage. And adequate can be defined a bunch of different ways. Here at Cisco, we have a few different ways to approach this type of requirement. We've got solutions for customers that prefer public cloud managed solutions, and another for customers that prefer an on-premises or a private cloud type of deployment. The good news here at Cisco, we've got a pretty good number of experts in the topic that we can have on. But even better news, I was able to book the person here at Cisco that's actually responsible for the product that meets this specific need. I'd like to introduce Jay Kathari. Jay, greetings.
Greetings, Jason. Good morning.
Good morning. And Jay, you're a product manager here. I was wondering if you would just kind of describe what that means. What's your job? And can you talk about the team that surrounds you that kind of brings ideas and conceptions to a product that I can hold in my hands?
Absolutely. So I'm in the wireless product management team here, the Aeronet wireless product management team in San Jose. We're a bunch of folks who you all are familiar with our WLCs, access points, and to just give you a gist of how the team is created, we have a controller team which looks after all the controller deployments, whether it's an appliance base, whether it's a virtual deployment, or deployment where controller resides on the access points. Then we have the access points team. This is the team which we work very closely with, which designs the latest and the greatest hardware that you see out there, the AP hardware. And then we have a team which looks after the network management, analytics, assurance, and the location-based services that we offer. So all together, we work really hard. It's a small team. We like to work hard, play hard, and in terms of job, how do we do it? Like, we speak with a lot of folks out there, be it customers, partners, our sales folks, because we have a huge sales organization. They give us insights. We look at the industry trends. We are present in all of the industry certifications, or we take a leading. We have a leadership position there. So we try to shape what's coming in the future and make sure that we take in all the requirements from these multiple folks and try to build our next gen products.
Great, thanks. Whenever I get a brand new access point, like one of the first things I do is I open it up and take a look at the insides. I kind of feel like I've done that with you a little bit. It's interesting to see the process and how it all comes together. Tell me about how you got started at Cisco and what kind of things have you done while you've been here?
Sure. So I started at Cisco about 3.5 years ago. I joined not in the wireless team, but in the switching team actually, where I was part of the Catalyst switching organization and
heard of that.
Primarily looking at the compact switches. So very familiar with, it's a small size compact switch, but in a really cool form factor. Fanless, I don't want to say all the good things about it. You all already know about it, but was the product manager there, launched the 3560 and the 2960 CX compact family. Also was responsible for launching the M-Gig and the 3650 mini compact switches. So, moving up the chain in the Catalyst world. And from there, I got an opportunity to join the wireless team. I felt the opportunity was interesting because I'm sure switching team can argue about it, but wireless is the primary form of access these days. Everybody knows about that. And so, really wanted to be in that team, and I joined the team, looked after the 3504 controller initially. that was launched about a year back. Again, a small form factor controller, very similar looking and feel to the 3504. Along with that, I am also looking at the Mobility Express solution. Now, contrary to popular belief, it's not any bus that takes you from, from one location to the other. It's our actually access point solution where the controller resides. And I'll talk about that a little bit later as we go through the presentation.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so as a product manager, part of your job is market research.
Yes.
Right. So, tell me about that. Generally, who do you talk to? Who have you talked to? What kind of pain are they having? What kind of challenges are they facing with wireless for, the group that you're targeting?
Yeah. So as you can see, I'm primarily looking at folks who are wanting to deploy few access points. By few, I mean it could range anywhere from 1 AP to up to 100 APs. Now 100 APs can be a big deployment as well, but if you have multiple branches, we have customers at this whole spectrum. So I speak with a lot of folks, smaller partners, bigger partners, customers. We do a lot of surveys, we do a lot of market research to see what are the pain points, what are the things that they really want, what are the challenges that they see in their wireless environment. Consistently, what we hear is that wireless demand is growing. Number of network devices are increasing exponentially. The IoT devices are coming on board at a very rapid pace. Even if you're a small office, medium office, right, you'll see Nest thermostats, Ecobee thermostats, Alexas, Google Assistants, all of those things. So what that means for IT is that they want to give a predictable and a reliable network. Even if you're a small IT team or a no IT team, you want to have a predictable network. The second thing is that, what we keep hearing is that it's very expensive to deploy enterprise class Wi-Fi. Now, this is not true, and I'll explain you why. And the third piece is that, how do we keep up to this ever-changing demands as newer applications come on board, as they generate more and more traffic, is my network able to manage this things? So these are some of the challenges that we keep hearing from folks to whoever we talk to.
So that makes sense to me. I've heard my customers say the exact same sorts of things. How do you then distill that down to, like, say, a product requirement and then ultimately something that you can hold in your hands or some software that's written?
Yes. So the number one thing is that, when you are a small to medium business, right, you want to save money as much as possible. So you want something that is relatively low cost. Second is you might not have all the IT stuff that a bigger organization has. You might be a one-person shop who might be doing switch, route, wireless, conferencing, everything else. So it needs to be simple, fast, and easy to deploy and manage post-installation. And then finally, you want to be able to provide enterprise class features. We don't distinguish between, if you're a small customer that, you don't get all the features that our bigger customers get. We try to get as many innovative things that our entire portfolio has, even for this solution, and without breaking the bank, basically.
So that makes a lot of sense. How does then Cisco respond to that customer pain? What have we put together?
Yes. So number one is that, whatever we do at Cisco, we want to have the best of breed wireless, whether it is in our hardware, whether it's in our software. And then with Cisco, we want you to be able to concentrate on, not just deploying a network, but providing a superior customer experience, a superior guest experience when somebody comes onto your office or a small business. If somebody walks into a store or a hotel or a dorm room, wherever it is, you want to have an excellent Wi-Fi experience. We want to be able to provide the latest and greatest in terms of, the standards. So all our products have the latest Wave 2, 802.11 AC Wave 2 technologies built in. So as your traffic increases, as your applications increases, users increase, the network should be able to handle the traffic. And then reliability. That is one of the biggest things. Anything goes wrong, first thing that people do is blame the Wi-Fi. we don't want that to happen. And if that happens, how can you easily detect the problems and resolve it?
So that sounds great. It really does. I hesitate a little because I've been doing wireless here at Cisco for a pretty long while now, and Wi-Fi is not known necessarily. Just Wi-Fi in general is just not known to be easy. Cisco's really not focused in the past on making it necessarily easier, but more capable.
Right.
So what exactly is this solution? How do we kind of have both?
Sure. So for that one, I'd like to share my screen.
Yeah.
Jason.
Yeah, absolutely. Why don't I just pass you the presenter ball here?
Okay. Give me a minute while I get the ball.
In fact, go ahead and activate your camera too, so people can see you as well.
Sure. Let me see. Okay. Camera is active. Hopefully people can see me. And I have shared my screen, so let me go in the presentation mode. So what is our solution for this things that I said? And I hope at the end of this session, folks like you as well as our viewers are able to know this solution much better, and as well as give it a try if you have not already tried it. So the solution is Cisco Mobility Express solution. So what does this solution have? Typically, in the past, wireless deployments have been such that you needed an appliance which was there on site. You needed to, or you could deploy it, hosting the controller in your data center or on your private cloud. With this one, what we have done is gotten the controller functionality inside the access point itself. So the same controller software that is sitting on, whether it's an appliance or whether it's a virtual deployment, that same software is sitting on the access points. So, so the controller functionality runs on the AP.
Okay.
The second thing is, how do you deploy this? So we have a couple of ways to deploy this. We have a mobile app where you can do day zero provisioning in 3 simple and easy steps, and I will go over that. Or you can deploy it using a regular computer or a browser, and it can support up to 100 access points. And it's a plug-and-play model, and it's very easy to set up. Once you deploy it, right, day one, you have 1 site, maybe 2 sites, 3 sites, or if you're a bigger organization, maybe more sites. How do you monitor this? How do you know if something is wrong, or if you wanted to make some changes? Maybe change your passwords, maybe change some settings, see what applications are consuming more bandwidth, etc. We have a UI through which you can do it, and that's available for everyone to use, and comes by default with the product.
Okay.
One other important thing is we want to have folks set up. If you remember, I said we want you to be able to set it up in a simple fashion and in a fast fashion. So for that, we have best practices enabled by default. What does that mean is that we've taken our experience that we know from talking to multiple customers, what we feel is required to provide a very superior experience for majority of the customers. So best practices are enabled by default. And if you wanted to see what are enabled by default and some things you want to disable it or enable it again, which you've not enabled, you can enable it very easily, and I'll go over that in the UI when I talk about it. Second piece is redundancy. This comes with built-in redundancy. So if, say, one of the APs goes down for whatever reason, it could be doesn't have enough power or something bad happened and it goes away, you don't want your entire network to come down. So we have we have N+1 redundancy, where the next AP can become the controller if you have more than 1 AP deployment, and you can choose which one you want to be as a controller, etc. And those smarts are there. You can do it directly from the UI.
Great.
And then finally, investment protection. What I mean by that, you're a small business or a medium business, you are growing, or for some reason you decide that you want to have a controller-based deployment. You can simply change the firmware on the access points and buy the controller hardware and use the same access points to connect to a regular controller, and that will you're up and running. So use the same APs, convert it or convert it vice versa. So it's really simple, it's flexible, and it has enterprise class features built into that.
So that looks really great. I have a user submitted or a viewer submitted question here,
Okay.
and I'd like to kind of pass it directly on to you rather than just have the panelists take it. What AP platforms is it supported on? How do I buy it?
Okay.
And how much are you going to ding me for the licenses?
Absolutely. So let me answer that question first.
Which is, I think, the nicer way of putting it.
Yes. So the answer is it is supported on all Wave 2 access points.
Okay.
So our 1K platform, our 2K platform, our 3K platform. How you buy it, it ends with the letter C at the end. If you look at the SKUs, so this shows you a good slide of all the access points that are supporting Mobility Express. If you buy with the letter C at the end, it comes pre-installed with the Mobility Express image onto it. And these are the scale numbers. We support, on the 1K series, we support up to 50 APs and 1,000 clients. And on the 2K and 3K series, we support up to 100 APs and 2,000 clients. And on the outdoor, again, depending on which model you buy, same scale you get. So this is the product support. Let me also talk about this newer product that we've gotten recently. This was introduced about a month back.
Yep.
And what this is a branch. I would like to call it as a branch in a box. In the past, you know, for a traditional branch, typically you might have bought a router, a security appliance, maybe some access points, and you know, a switch as well.
One of your old compact switches.
Yeah, one of my old compact switches, which is still great though. It's silent, fanless, and you know. But with this one, it has an AP1815 indoor AP. Same hardware that you get when you buy that access points built into this one. You can perform your routing, switching, wireless functions. It has integrated security with VPN, firewall, etc. And you can run a Mobility Express controller on this box, or you can have this join any other Mobility Express controller. Great. So this is another. So these are all the hardware platforms which support Mobility Express natively.
Great. In
terms of what I'm going to ding you to buy this thing, it's $0. There is no license required when you buy Mobility Express AP and run it in the Mobility Express mode. No AP licenses are required. Simply buy the APs, plug them in, use the provisioning day 0 in 3 easy steps, get it up and running, and you're good to go.
So no extra license dollars. Now, let's just say that I'm a customer and I need something like this. I learn about it. This is what I need. It's going to meet my needs. I go to my reseller partner and I say, hey, I need Mobility Express, and now I get in my hands an AP2800.
Yes.
So it's AP2K. You said it supports up to 50 access points and 1,000 client devices. Does that mean I have to now keep that same model? It's just like only AP2800s support an AP2800 Mobility Express, or do I have to? What kind of flexibility do I have to use different access points?
Great question. So any Wave 2 AP which runs Mobility Express software can be a controller, number one. And number two is you can mix and match access points. So, excuse me, you can have any APs join a controller. It's a controller functionality running on the AP. Any AP is able to join in. So if you have Wave 2 APs and Mobility Express on it, you can mix and match 1K, 2K, 3K. If you have Wave 1 access points, those can join the Mobility Express controller as well. The only thing that it won't be able to do is it can never be a Mobility Express controller. It can never be part of, when I talked about N+1 redundancy, we have a master concept, which is the master AP, which has a controller functionality residing on it. The Wave 1 APs don't support that functionality, but it can join the existing controller, Mobility Express controller. So if you have some Wave 1 APs lying around, and if you want to use them, you can use them with this Mobility Express solution as well.
So let me clarify that.
Yes.
So Back in January for Wireless Tuesday, we had Sunil and Javier from the Window Escalation team.
Yes, okay.
So they're kind of in between the business unit that owns the products and TAC, and they're the escalation path. And they said there is a website that TAC maintains that has recommended OS versions. So what I hear you saying is if I go to the recommended OS version for the particular access point that I get, any access point that's supported in that recommended, in that version of code, I can use a Mobility Express controller to connect to.
Yes, that is correct.
That's great.
So we have support for Wave 1, Wave 2, and any other products that we would get. Typically, we try to get in. Obviously, there are some other factors involved, how long it has been in the market and all, but you can.
But it's more a factor of the version of code that you're running.
Yes.
Right, and that's, okay, that makes sense. No, so that's really, that's a good overview. A lot of customers look for, and there's this, I'm going to use this term enterprise class, but I'm going to put air quotes around it because it means different things to everybody. But oftentimes when we see products like this in the market from, just like this, not necessarily even wireless related, they're stripped down. So what kind of enterprise class features can I expect on a Mobility Express platform?
So I'll take it in two parts, this question.
Yeah.
One is I want to show what are the software innovations that we're getting, which gets you these enterprise class features.
Right.
How can you deploy this solution? And then some of the existing hardware innovations, RF innovations that we have, how this is available on this platform. So let me go back to my slide, which kind of summarizes, what is Mobility Express and where do we want to see it. So
please,
this is our branch solution, as I've said. It has support for up to 100 APs, and it's easy to deploy. I talked about all of those things. What it also supports is day zero PNP config and image download. So if you are using across multiple sites, say like you mentioned, right, multiple sites but smaller number of quantity of APs present in those sites, you can use this day zero PNP with our DNSE or with our APIC EM if you have, and you can do that. So that's there. In terms of other things, AVC is another one, application visibility and control. So it uses the same NBAR engine using the DPIs to figure out what are the top applications that are running in your network. And not only that, you can mark rate limit or apply some policies to these AVC profiles. We have integration with our CMX solution. So if you wanted to provide a superior experience when somebody is coming on the guest or want to get some analytics from your store or a coffee shop or a retail environment, you can connect it to our CMX solution, whether it's an on-prem or a cloud-based solution, and you can get that.
Right.
We have the Apple-Cisco partnership, where we make sure that we connect we provide a superior roaming capabilities if you have an iOS device. So you want to get that same experience that you get on a higher end portfolio, you get it with this one. You can prioritize your business critical applications. So it could be as well as your Cisco business applications. So that's available as well. In terms of multi-site deployment, we have full integration with ICE basically, which is Cisco's Identity Services Engine. You can do BYOD if you have, if you want to do it. We have walled garden support. So if you are a external customer, you wanted to provide social login integration, etc. That's available as well. As we talk to customers, right, we do realize sometimes you have this connected over the WAN, and you want to reduce the time it takes to download the software. So we have a new SFTP mode available on the AP as well, and then we have .1x as well.
Okay.
And then the last piece is DNS Center. TP had come onto the show last month, and he talked about all the cool things that we're doing on the assurance side of the house as well as the automation, right? So Mobility Express, starting with the 8.7 software release, there is the assurance capability built in. So the device or the controller starts sending the telemetry data to the DNS Center. And I will show it to you, that the code is actually present, and I'm not just, saying this out. We're starting EFTs right this month, and we expect general availability to be in summer with the 1.3 release that will come out in July timeframe. So both for onboarding, automation, day one, making any changes, as well as getting all the insights, the right place, right action, all of the good things that Taranpreet talked about. So for if you're a small or medium size, single site or multi-site, this is a great solution for a branch.
See, I'm so glad that I had you on because, and I'll tell you one simple reason why. We got a little bit of view of the roadmap, which I think helps me understand that this is a product that we're putting a lot of investment in and a lot of might in, and we're looking for real world testers. So this EFT stands for early field trial, and so if you have customers, or if there are customers out there that either have or are interested in deploying some Mobility Express and then tying that to, like, say, a DNA center, which is pretty exciting, I think, pretty interesting. That's something you're interested in. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
You said a couple of things, and I'm going to ask you to put your money where your mouth is. You said that you can deploy. You said 3 easy steps, which kind of sounds pretty marketing-y. But you also said 10 minutes. So maybe I can have you prove it.
Absolutely. So
all right.
Let me again get to my screen and show you that how you can set it up and running in minutes. So I don't have a real deployment here because we in Cisco, we just wanted to make sure that we show you the steps and you all can try it out at home or in your office. There are 2 ways to do it. One is using a mobile app. We have an Android as well as Apple mobile app. It's called Cisco Wireless, and you can download that app. You can click on this as well and you can get it. You can do day 0 provisioning using that, or using the regular computer or any web-based browser.
This is the same app that I use to connect to my controller and get statistics on it.
Exactly. So you can provision your controller using that, and then once you've provisioned for day N, if you wanted to see some statistics, like what are the top apps, etc., like a regular controller, you can use that same app. So okay, what are the steps? 3 steps, like I mentioned. In this one, before doing that steps, right, we provision this using the over-the-air provisioning method. What I mean by over-the-air provisioning is, once you plug this in, right, Cisco Air Provision SSID is broadcasted. So using your phone or your tablet or your computer, connect to this SSID. The default password is password. Once you enter that, right, if you're using the mobility app, click on the provisioning icon and the setup wizard will come up. Third one is on the UI, you can simply type in mobilityexpress.cisco and that will open the configuration wizard. So what I'll do is I will cover this web UI piece. So say we've connected onto this Air Provision SSID, we entered the password, we logged into this mobilityexpress.cisco. Next is 3 steps, like I said. First one is controlling, entering your admin password and credentials. Then system name, management IP or IP related information. And then third one is creating the WLAN. So let's jump onto this. This is the first page that comes up.
Okay.
Once you enter that mobilityexpress.cisco, this is where you enter your new admin username because you don't want anybody to access your controller. And then you enter the password.
Which is password?
No, this one is your actual password that you would want to set.
So wait, okay, got it.
Yeah. So that if you want to make any changes post day 1, right, this is where you go and do it. This is your step 2. This is where you enter some of the system names and some time zone information, etc. And then this is where you enter some management IP credentials, so that if you want to access this post day 1, right, what do you use to go on the computer browser and how do you connect it? So this is what you will do. This is what is required. Third step is the actual WLAN. So say you want to create Mobility Express PSK or internally whatever SSID that you use, enter your SSID. Authentication methods. So we have a couple of authentication methods available. Whatever you want to choose, you can use that. And set up your passphrase or connect to a Radius server, whatever you want to use it for. This is an optional step, but I just want to talk to it is because we do realize by default it's typical RF settings that we do. This is your traffic density, client density. But if you are deploying it in a high density environment and you wanted to set it up at the beginning, you can just set it, take the knob to high and do it. This is an optional setting. If you don't select it.
Can you talk about what's typical?
So typical is basically where the RSSI information or the automatic 5 gigahertz or the FRA, all of those things, if it's there, is selected. But it's where typical number of users that we feel are there are connected to this network. Now again, each environment, each network is different, but this is based on the historical data that we've gotten from customers.
So we talked about, so you said FRA. We talked about that a few months ago in a Wireless Tuesday podcast. It stands for Flexible Radio Assignment. That's on the Wave 2 access points. That's where we have a 5 gigahertz radio and then another radio which can be software defined to 2.4 or 5 gigahertz or any, like a bunch of other roles. So what you're suggesting here is that with Mobility Express we can still take full advantage of that.
Yes. So flexible radio that's available on our 2K and 3K platform, that is available on Mobility Express. It's a one button setting that you do from Mobility Express. That is a very cool feature where, like you said, you all went into the deep dive, but for our customers, for our viewers over here, right? It automatically selects, it's a software defined way of selecting what band basically. So if it doesn't, it adjusts, chooses dual at 5 gigahertz. If there is less traffic or there are no clients on the 2.4 gigahertz, you can use the third radio, the second radio in any monitor mode or the sensor piece that Taranpreet talked about last week. So you can use that third radio as a sensor as well. And MGig, right? I mean, MGig, it comes as part of the AP. Mobility Express just supports it by default. So this is another set of enterprise class features that when I talk about, that's there on this platform. And so again, this is not this is an optional thing. Like I said, we enable best practices, right? So this is one of the best practices. And once you do this, right, after this you click next and your controller will reboot, your network will come up and your SSID will come, you log into that and your network is up and running. So 3 steps, very simple, very easy, and your network is up and running.
That sounds great. So I appreciate that. It looks pretty simple. In fact, it looks like the same UI that is now part of all of the controllers for initial setup, right?
Yes.
And it's the same sort of thing. Same RRM. So that's really great. So I don't necessarily have to have a box that is a controller. I can have a controller on an access point, and depending on the model, that can support up to 2,000 client devices,
yes,
up to 100 APs. I'd like to see a little bit more of the UI. Are you prepared to show me the
Absolutely.
UI? Well,
yes.
Let's see that.
Okay. So we have a setup running over here in our lab. So this is what will happen once you log into the management IP address. You enter your admin password that you changed in the first step, right? So I log in. Okay, something's wrong. So this is the first page that comes up. This is the UI that is running on the real setup. We have about 4 SSIDs defined over here.
Right.
And if you click on this one, you will see what are the what are the SSIDs that are created guest or whatever the SSID that you've created. And this is the summary page, like I mentioned, right? So on the left-hand side, what I would like to do is there are a couple of things that we have. One is summary about your access points clients.
So this is the same dashboard that we would see on all of the controllers now.
Yeah, the first page, this is the same one, the summary view. But we've tried to make this simple, and we've tried to, like I said, and I'll show you what we have. By default, it's a simple view that people get. So this is the button over here where you can switch it to advanced view or an expert view, because we do believe that there are folks out there who want to get some advanced knobs, and we respect that, and we want to give you as much as you can change through the UI. But the UI is really thought through. I mean, it's a really modern looking UI, and we've gotten really good feedback on this one compared to any competition that is out there. So going back over here, right, we have access points, we have clients, then we have applications. So this is where I was talking about the AVC piece. This is the AVC, and we'll go over there. Then rogues. I mean, we do rogue detection and classification of both access points, clients. That's over here. Interferers. You want to see what's causing interference in your system. So you have some information over there. Then some dashboard about the AP client performance, and then the best practices tab, and we'll go over each of these in a few minutes from now.
Sure.
Going back onto this page, right, let's start with the top widget over here. So number one is settings over here, right? You click on it, you get the system information. It tells you what controller is there, serial number, etc. Whatever you've set up.
That's useful for sure.
This is a Make-A-Wish button. So if you click on this one, it directly sends an email to the wireless product management team, and we actually listen and we respond. So the email will directly come to me and my TMEs and others. So hey, if you have any feature that you want, right? Easter's coming up,
Right.
or if you find something, you can just click on here and
click on Make-A-Wish.
Yeah, click on Make-A-Wish.
Love it.
This is the standard view and the expert view that is there. So you click on this, it turns on to, so right now we're in expert view, you click on this, it goes on to the standard view, and I'll show you, what you get and what you don't get with that. So let's keep it in the expert view. And this is the save config button. So if you make any changes, you want to make sure you save that. Because I'm sure many a times we've not saved it and we think something's not working. So this is the first thing that I would say. Red means you need to save some configuration.
Red means you need to save.
Yes.
But you can still you can issue multiple changes.
Yes.
And then you save it. That way,
absolutely.
if you make a mistake, you can always reboot it, and it'll okay.
Yeah. And then this is if a new software update is available. Now this is running the latest 8.7 code, which is still in beta, and but it's going to come out in March timeframe, and it has a bunch of things that are going to be there. And when we post this thing, folks can look it up in the backup of what are the cool things that are going to come. So let's quickly get on to APs.
Side question before you do that. I know that we have a beta program that customers can subscribe to. What's the best way for them to do that?
So typically, you can email us basically to Make-A-Wish, or if you are connected to your Cisco Salesforce, whether it's a SE or whether it's a partner, they typically have a way to contact us. So you can get onto that, and we will put you in touch with get you in touch with the beta code, and you can try it out as well.
Great, cool, thanks.
So now onto the network summary page, right? So we talked about what the wireless networks are. Next is the number of access points. You can see there are 3 APs that are connected. Green means that they're up, connected, running. If anything is in red, means that the AP might not have joined the Mobility Express deployment or the controller deployment. It could be for various reasons. So you can then try to debug a little bit more of what is the reason. Number of clients. So you can see we have 4 clients on 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz band. So we give you information about that, and you can click on it to get some more information as well. In terms of rogues, so I said we do support rogue detection. So if there are APs that shouldn't be there in your wireless office environment, or if some clients are connected onto that which are shouldn't be there, you can see that, as well as you can classify it basically, that hey, there's a friendly AP or there's not a malicious AP right from the UI itself. And then interference. So you mentioned about FRA, but we also have clean air on our 28 and 3800s, which gives you a much more granular detection of interference. It's not just related to microwave or something, but even Bluetooth and some of the other things. It's a hardware-based thing, so you will get that as part of Mobility Express, because, as I said, we like to get all the features that are there on our bigger controllers or bigger deployments onto this platform as well. So that's available as well. If you are using a 1K series, we have Spectrum Intelligence that was introduced with the 8.6 release, so that helps in detection as well. And so that's available as well. Next one is let's go on to the access points. Like you go on here, see you can see 3 APs, some characteristics. So you can see you talked about can I do multi-deployment? We have a 3K, 1K, 2K AP that is part of this deployment. So multiple APs available, and you click on one of the APs as an example. It gives you a good view, a good summary that what's the over here you see what is the AP type, what's the serial number, what are the capabilities, what's the utilization, 5 gigahertz, 2.5 gigahertz throughput. A lot of this information is already available over here. Now, when we click on the Clients tab, this shows what are the different types of clients connected, and you can adjust this, you can sort this, or you can add some other filter things as well, whatever you want to view here.
Right.
You can do you can select what is important for you and add it. Now, let's click on one of the clients. So
let's do that.
So what this shows over here is, again, what is the AP that it's connected to, what is the nearby AP that it is there, how you can see the connectivity things over here, what are the top applications that the AP has used. It's on the 5 gigahertz band over here, you can check, and then some of the other things at the bottom over here as well, which can give you a good summary view of the details that you want to look for without going onto the CLI or some other things. AVC, this is what I like. So you can see what are the top applications that are running onto the network, and as you know that compared to competition, we have the best AVC out there. And we can detect really well what are the applications, etc. So say you have this one, you wanted to perform some actions. So say you wanted to rate limit something. You create rate limit, you can put what you want, and then you can apply it to whatever AVC profile that you wanted to do. You wanted to mark something, you can do it. Or you want to drop something as well, you can do it. And right from the UI, hit apply and it'll be set.
Great.
So not only detection of what are the top running applications in the network, but even how you can control it. Now rogues, so like I told you, right, what are the APs that it's seeing? It shows you over here. You can see these are not classified. It can tell you on 2.4 or 5 gigahertz what is there, and then you click on this one, you can get some more information and you can update it, whether it's friendly or whatever you want to.
Right.
Or malicious. So again, right from the UI, you can do this in a very easy fashion. Now, best practices, right? I told you that we have a dashboard of best practices. This just gives you some of the things. We have things on the infrastructure, security, RF, Apple, ICE if you're using a third-party radius server. And as an example, right, for to just show that it shows HTTPS is not enabled for management. Now, look, you want to be secure, when you're connecting to this. So this shows you that you've not set it up. So let's click on this. Let's enable this.
Right.
I enable it. It's OK. And you can set it up over here. So it tells you what are the things that you have enabled, what are the things that you've not enabled. And by default, a lot of these things are enabled.
You know what I like about this is, so I can enable it, and obviously this is just one of those things where you click it and it's enabled. But let's just say I'm not quite sure what that means. I love that there's a Learn More button that takes you directly to the documentation.
Yes.
I think that's
Yeah, exactly.
That's super useful for me, because
I think for everyone, right? Because
I might not know the nomenclature that's being used.
Yep.
In a certain thing, especially for new features.
Yes.
So I don't have to go and scour documentation, scour the right version of the documentation, right?
Exactly.
Good.
So this is the best practices piece. Now let's quickly go on to the next piece of okay, I want to create a new WLAN. How do I create it?
That's a good
You
question.
created one WLAN at the beginning, but say you wanted to create guest, or you wanted to create another one for maybe certain piece or whatever may be your reason. So let's go over here. We click on this add new WLAN or RLAN, and as you can see, there are multiple tabs available over here. So you wanted to create a WLAN. We enter the profile name, enter the, so let's say Cisco Rocks. is the SSID, and you wanted to get the admin state, radio policy, whether you want to turn it on just for 5 gigahertz or 2.4 or both. You do that, whether you want to broadcast the SSID or not, and then local profiling. What this does is allows us to detect the clients, etc., much more granularly. What is the OS, what are the type of devices, what are the type of clients, and so on and so forth. Next one is security. Security is very important in terms of authentication, right?
Right.
So we have a couple of methods. One is you can keep it open. I don't recommend to do that, but in case you want to do it, WPA2 personal, enter the passphrase, enterprise, whether you want to use an external radius. If you use an external radius server, this is where you enter your radius information, the server, the accounting server, etc. So do that, hit apply,
Right.
and it will set up a new WLAN. Now, next thing is guest, right? If you wanted to turn on guest, so let me turn on guest,
Let's do
assuming that this Cisco Rocks is a guest network that we want to set up.
Yep.
If you want to turn on the captive network assistant, so if you know on Apple devices, moment you join a network, a web browser pops up. So this allows you to do that if you wanted to do it. Portal wise, right? So you can connect using a CMX Connect that we have, a captive portal, or you can use an internal splash page or an external splash page as well. So let's select an internal splash page, right? In terms of how does a user get access, right? You can have web consent, you can have email address, so you can have guests provide that information. If you have radius connectivity, you can do using radius server as well. And if you wanted to do a personal WPA2, you can do it over here as well. Now, when I talked about walled garden and stuff, right? What does that mean? That when somebody is trying to connect to these network, you wanted to have them browse certain websites, So you
Right.
can come over here, you can do IP-based rules or you can do URL-based rules, enter here, and you can use wild characters. So you want them to access, say, Facebook or something. And you do this, and you can permit them or you can deny them, and
So we're just building our walled garden that maybe if I'm a
store or
small
something.
hotel or something like
Yeah.
that, it's like you can browse our website all
Yeah,
you
just
want.
browse your website or
Yeah,
so
okay.
this is available on this one. So you can see a lot of good things are here. Next one is traffic. Oops, sorry. Next one is the traffic shaping thing. What this is that we are introducing, or rather this feature is now coming, which is bidirectional rate limit per client, per SSID, or per BSSID. What that means is you want to limit the downstream bandwidth. You want to limit the upstream bandwidth, download uploads, in a guest network or for a certain set of employee WLAN so that they don't hog the network, etc. You can do it right from the GUI.
Okay.
Now Apple Fastlane, since we're creating a new wireless network, right? You can turn on this Apple Fastlane feature, and automatically the QoS settings will change. Or if you don't want to enable this, you can choose what is the metal cost profiles that you want. By default, it can show over here. You want to turn on application visibility and control, you can simply enable it over here, and it will turn it on. So very easy to set up, very easy to do it. And then this advanced tag, you can do AAA override. You can limit the number of clients that are there per radio or per channel. All of those things as well you can do. And then the last two is, this is what the expert view is. So say if I go back into the simple view, you won't see some of these tabs because we feel not everybody wants to set these up. And these are just for if you want to do hotspot or something, if you're a service provider or somebody and you wanted to offer those, you can set those things up from here as well. Now, in terms of access points, this is something I wanted to cover as well. So I talked about, we have this concept of a master controller.
Yeah.
So you can see when you look over here, the blue P shows what is the access point which is the master controller, or what is the
Primary.
AP which has the controller functionality enabled on it.
Right.
And this selection is automatic. We use an internal algorithm based on the higher count AP, the client load, as well as some of the other parameters. We select what the AP is. But we have customers who say, hey, I want to have a little more choice in doing this one.
Yes.
So let's click on this one, like a hallway AP, assuming.
Okay.
And over here, what it shows is there's a make me a controller option. So if you click on that, it will allow you to make that AP as a controller. So if you've kept this AP where the client load is really low, you want to maybe have that as the AP, or if it's a higher model, 3800, 2800, want to make that as a controller, you can do that.
What are these other operating modes?
The other operating modes are whether you want to use it as an AP or a sensor.
Obviously, right. Yeah. Gotcha.
Next one is set preferred master. What does this mean? Say your AP fails, or for whatever reason, you want to assign that if that fails, I want this AP only to be the controller. So you would set this option, and that will become your next preferred master. And you can see this icon changed.
Gotcha.
So that's what it is. And if you want an AP to never be part of be a controller, say you're putting it in a area, or if it's an outdoor AP and you maybe don't want to make this as a controller, you click on this, convert to CapWrap. What it will do is it will never be part of a master election process. So all of this, again, very easy to manage, very easy to do it right from the UI. And
I have to stop you.
Yes.
Okay, because I heard some really interesting things. So first of all, if I want to get a Mobility Express controller, I just get an access point that's a C,
yes,
right, at the end. If I'm doing that, would it make sense to get just like all of the access points I get as a C, or should I just get a few as a C and then some as not a C? Because what it looks like here is that the access points will, through an internal algorithm, decide who's the master controller. And if that one goes away, then someone else is going to take over. And I can set a preferred master. So that's useful. I can also make a particular access point never be a controller by just clicking on a button that says convert to CapWrap. And that would then, I guess, allow me to connect that to any controller I want, right?
Yes.
Because I think the last thing I would want is to start bringing Mobility Express into an enterprise where there's already a controller. Would that kind of allow us, is that like having like bringing in a DHCP server and causing all sorts of issues there? What's the risk?
So we always recommend that you buy everything with ME, so the C at the end, especially if you're going to be deploying it in a Mobility Express mode, simply because you want to get the full redundancy, right?
Yeah.
Every AP should be capable of becoming a controller. Having said that, as part of PM team, we listen from a lot of folks out there. They said we want these knobs on the box, and so we've gotten them over here. But I would recommend, if you're going to be deploying Mobility Express capable, you always buy with the C.
That makes sense.
And the reason is, if you do decide to convert that to ME capable, you have to perform another step of changing the firmware. So you don't want to have that one step. Because if you want to connect this to a regular controller, you can always turn it into a CapWrap mode. And
I noticed there's a lot of YouTube videos out there under the Cisco WLAN user that kind of go through each of those steps in detail. We're up against the clock, Jay. Do you have any last thoughts?
Yeah, so two things I wanted to show. I was talking about the DNA center, right?
Yeah.
See, this is the network assurance piece, and this is where you would connect to, you enter some of the information, which will start sending the telemetry data to DNA center.
Hold on. Are you telling me that the WSA feature that's in, like, say, the 5520s in the new 8.5 code, which sends streaming telemetry, so I don't have to wait for these 10, 20-minute SNMP updates, is on Mobility Express as well?
Absolutely. So we have SNMP support today as well, so you can connect it to a prime, use automation, but the next generation is real-time streaming telemetry.
I love that.
And this is supported coming in 8.7. I'm showing you the code that is running 8.7. Finally, one more thing I wanted to, two more things I want to show, because we're up against time, is there are multiple software update modes. We have a mode called Cisco.com update, where you connect to your Cisco account, and what it will do is it will tell you what is the latest and the recommended software that's available automatically. Great. And when you click on update, it will do the download. So no longer connecting using a TFTP, SFTP, everything. If you have a SmartNet contract, enter this, software download. It'll figure out what software it needs to download for whatever API that it's connected. Really easy one-click software updates.
That is spectacular. I love ending on a high note.
Yeah.
Jay, thank you so much for being my guest today.
Thank you.
For the audience here, we are going to be posting all of the Q&A or the questions and responses that you asked and were responded to. If we weren't able to get to your question, that's okay. We'll try to get to it. We'll consolidate all of those answers, and they'll be posted on wirelesstuesday.fm. Jay, thanks for being my guest today.
Thank you, Jason. Thanks for having me, and hope the viewers try this out and look at all of the new things that we're getting in. And if you have any questions, anything, feel free to reach out using the Make-A-Wish button.
Great. Thanks so much.
This has been a presentation of Cisco's Wireless Tuesday. Be sure to continue the conversation at ciscofullbars.com, and at the top, click on the CFB Spark community. There, you can connect with scores of like-minded wireless LAN professionals. Be sure to subscribe to the Wireless Tuesday podcast using your favorite podcast player, and stay up to date by subscribing to the Wireless Tuesday newsletter at wirelesstuesday.fm. We will see you next month for an exciting episode of Wireless Tuesday.